There's a way to cover Raleigh, Cary, Durham, maybe have some different. So that's one AOR, right? Let's just say that Raleigh, Cary, another market. So 2 to 3 markets. But then there's some slightly different tactics, right? To go after a city 15 miles away that maybe there isn't a competitor. You described it as a new frontier. So how are we working on that? How does that come into a dealership's market?
Data is a big part of it. So, the nice thing about the Google environment where we live a lot is we know exactly how many people are looking right now.
Yep.
So, I mean, if you can say, I want to own and control everyone who is trying to buy a new car right now, and if you are playing the game correctly, you can have a lot more control over the auction environment by making sure that you are creating an experience that really matches where that customer is. And you're going to end up, just by the way, the nature of Google, with higher quality scores, have lower costs and be able to have your dollars go as far as they can. So letting the market kind of give you direction on what the opportunity is. So the ups and downs of how much you spend on new or used and in what markets all comes down to what are the consumers looking for. So if there's frontiers that they're selling cars that nobody's buying in, guess what? You can probably bid real low and set a ceiling on how much you want to bid. It's completely separate from maybe another area, and then all of a sudden,
because you want to compare it differently,
right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you're right in the middle of downtown Chicago, it's a whole lot more expensive for certain searches than it is in rural North Carolina.
For sure.
And so, again, if you have a really good understanding of where the market is, and Google gives us a lot of metrics that we can use to create that understanding. There's a ton in Auction Insights to let us know who's in the market, how low can we go.
Yep.
I like that. That is good. That's, how low, well, and so many people will just blanket an area, and they're not thinking strategically about how we can be as cost effective as possible. To get the most out of our budget. And the impression share metrics are there, the average top position. There's so many metrics that give us those insights. Obviously, how much we're spending, our cost per click and how that relates to our quality score. There's so many different metrics. These are all behind the scenes. These are things that dealers don't want to talk about.
Sure.
What they want to talk about is increasing my market share.
Right. But those ways to do that, right?
This is how we do it.
Starting low, set those ceilings, focus on quality score, which obviously unites two of our primary services with SEO and SEM.
Yep.
We haven't talked much. Let me kind of keep it there with SEM for a second. Facebook comes to play in here, right? The ability to get inventory in front of people. We've talked about merchandising. And there's a lot of, I think, social generalists out, and I think there's some really great specific companies who we've featured on ReUnion Station before, and there's some great people that do it really well. But just in terms of Facebook in general, am I right? Like, still one of the most cost-effective places.
It is the lowest stimulus marketing channel there is.
Period.
I think about the cost per thousand. People are seeing it too. It's
you
actually
like by it, right?
It's still crazy to me that it's this much cheaper, and that people still spend so much more doing other things.
Totally.
I think the average. I was talking to Andrew Street, and he was saying that the average dealer is spending like $1,200 on Facebook.
That makes sense.
And,
makes sense because I know that, but doesn't make sense when I think about how far that $1,200 goes, right?
Yeah. And again, it's like $4 to $10 CPM depending on different markets. So, and low level of targeting. But if you're talking about trying to win certain markets, and we have identified here's the battlegrounds or here's the frontiers, and here's how we're going to expand.
Yeah.
That's a great thing to layer on to 100%. Own that in SEO. Build your keyword list and make sure you're ranking in those top positions.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not in the top 3, you're not getting clicked on, and that's half the clicks on Google are those top 3 organic positions. So, are you creating relevant content there? Are we buying the right terms in our SEM? What's our click-through rate?
Right.
That's our share of voice when it comes to paid search. How well are we comparing to others? You look at these battleground areas, and sometimes you have click-through rates in like 0.5%, 1%, 1.5, or others do, not us.
Yeah. So we're literally just not getting.
Yeah. So what can we do that's where you want to increase your cost.
Makes complete sense.
Decrease in the frontiers where no one's buying. There's just so much you can do, and then layer in OTT and streaming, layer in the social media.
Yep.
On those, you don't have to do the whole market. Where are you trying to win? And when everything comes back to the market landscapes where it's these are the areas that are going to help us win and beat the other dealers and increase our market share, even in tough times. In tough times, this is when it takes the grit that we need to go
100%.
out there and beat the competition.
I love that, and I love that so much, because I think like that's where, again, I think that's where the industry's at its best, and it kind of forces that innovation, and it forces that, kind of back to the basics, but also like a refocus on the things that matter most. I'd be curious your thoughts. We talked a lot about just winning the market share battle, but the other thing that I think could happen here, and I've seen it a little bit, is two things, but kind of the same. One, I think we could see a little bit more consolidation. People just say, you know what, I'm tired of this shit. Excuse my language. I don't want to deal with this anymore.
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm out.
I think that's just the expectation moving forward. It seems like, yeah.
And so, talk to me consolidation, or I've been in another market recently that Honda, in this case, said there's that people are moving here, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's time for a new point.
Yeah.
So, how do you blend those services together to get in front of a market that either there's going to be some turnover, because even with any consolidation, there's people that are like, ooh, I don't know if I want to go back to that store because I've never bought from them, or Dave was my guy and Dave's gone because he got let go in this consolidation, or new point. So how do I go get something new, right?
Well,
it's easy when you can see who you're beating.
I think this is the one time where we do celebrate that that loyalty is at all-time lows.
Yeah.
So someone who just bought maybe 3 years ago a car at a certain price, and they're much more expensive trim package than they can maybe afford now. And so, I mean, just in general, like just the buying power is different than it was before. People are changing and they're downgrading a little bit more often, or then just in different spots. I mean, and so I think, gosh, I wish I remember the exact number, because I was looking at some S&P metrics and watching that brand loyalty go. I think it's down below 40% right now.
I think it's below 40.
And so
I'm actually certain it's below 40.
Yeah, yeah. And
which
so,
is nuts.
So because of that, because of just, and this is one of the things that happens with volatility, is at least in this regard, this means opportunity to go and bring more people back to us. There's tons of things. All right, thank you for watching this episode of Reunion Station. If you liked what you saw, give us a like, or subscribe to the channel. We'd love to talk to you some more.